Listen now, we the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. Ha. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Ha. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of The Scoreboard. Today we are going to be looking at the new updated odds for every division in the 2020 NFL season. What teams are favored to win, and we're going to give our opinions on that. We're going to look at the odds that Vegas currently provides, and we're going to give our bets on, first of all, who we would put money on if we were to do so, and who we think is actually realistically odds on favored. Now, this is our second attempt at recording this due to some technical failure. Unfortunately, some of the audio that we initially tried to get out got lost, but we didn't miss out much. We just talked about the AFC East and the AFC North. So far in the AFC East, I'm going to just summarize it. The Bills and Patriots both favored about equally, plus 120. And you have the Jets and Dolphins close together, but far behind. We both said that we probably like the Bills to actually win the whole thing. I think they're the most promising team. We both mentioned that we have an enigma of quarterbacks, therefore starting quarterbacks that we don't really know what to think about, and they all could be breakout candidates. Never count out Bill Belichick and the Patriots, obviously, and my personal 100% lock and put them in the bank money bet of this division, as always, is the New York Jets, because I like the odds and I like their run game. They have a potentially very explosive offense. With the AFC North, Smokey, you like the Ravens all the way, as far as I understand it.
Yes, definitely.
Take the Ravens all the way. I'm putting some money on Pittsburgh, which is second in line with the Browns kind of close together, and the Bengals are given absolutely no shot whatsoever, which I think makes a lot of sense. You can't go wrong with picking the Ravens to win it overall if they repeat the similar year that they were looking at last year. But I like the Steelers, I like their defense, I like a Big Ben return, and I think they have a good shot. Given the odds, that's where my money would go, but I'm not super confident in that. Now, we left off in the last attempt at the AFC South, and the odds in this division, we're looking at the Colts being slightly favored, just slightly over the Titans, the Texans at plus 350, and then the Jaguars are given absolutely no shot at plus 2,500. So if you try to make big money, that's your only possible bet, but I don't think many people will think the Jaguars will actually do it.
Gardner Minshew, I don't think they're betting on him being the future of the team for sure. And I don't think they're expecting, man. They may be ready to do a little tanking for a Trevor or a Justin Fields or something. I think that's a possibility for their future. But of course, they're never going to come out and say that. But the Texans, man, and the problem with that is Bill O'Brien. And we have the wrong Bill in Texas here.
The very wrong Bill, yeah.
Yeah. Without Nugent Hopkins, they're not going to be as explosive on offense, but they do have some nice pieces there. And Will Fuller's probably going to be the number one for them. I think they still have a chance to win the division, though. I mean, as good as the Titans were at the end of last season, the Colts are amazing on offensive line, and they have Phillip Rivers there now. So, that is a close division. It's a very close division. I could see 3 teams out of this division making it to the playoffs. But I'm still going with the Titans, though. I mean,
Titans
the
went
Texans,
to a
Texans.
Titans went to a championship game last year.
They did.
When's the last time the Texans did that?
The year before that. No, well, not the championship game, but they make the playoffs every season. So.
Never happened, I believe. They do make the playoffs quite often, yeah, but then it's always like a 9-7 sort of situation. And I do actually agree with you that it's on the coach and it's on the system, because they don't know what they're doing out there. And I agree that Deshaun Watson is sort of in a bad spot there. I would, however, point out that as long as Patrick Mahomes plays in the NFL, his team will never be number 3 in their division in terms of odds, and that is a promise. I'm not implying anything, but if Mahomes was on the Texans, guess who'd be favored to win that division? Bill O'Brien's team will be favored to win that. That's all I'm saying. I think if they were exchanged, I think the Chiefs will still be favored, and we get to that next. The Chiefs will still be favored to win the AFC West with Deshaun Watson, not as much. But the Texans are favored with.
Oh, for sure.
All I'm saying. In this division, though, I'm not going to put any money on this because the top 3 teams are too close in the actual odds and in skill too. Because I like the Colts best and I like the way they're building it up, I'm not going to bet anything because they're the odds on favorites, so there's not a lot of upside there in terms of profit to be made. So I'm not gonna go into this in terms of money betting. I like the Colts though. I like the way that the team is built. Trenches all the way. We've seen that succeed. Great O-line, great D-line, great acquisitions on both of those sides over the last couple of years. And they got a veteran quarterback in Philip Rivers, which is guaranteed to be an upgrade. He's not going to be Andrew Luck at this point in his career, but he's going to be better than what they've looked at over the last year with Jacoby Brissett. Didn't quite turn out the way they wanted to. And I think they have a good shot at actually making a reasonable playoff push this year. Wouldn't be too surprised. And Tennessee, I'm not sure if Ryan Tannehill will repeat what he's been doing, though I think the team still has a lot of potential. And behind a good run game, a good defense, great offensive line, I think they're going to be solid. I'm not putting anything on the Jaguars, obviously. I don't care what the odds are, they're not going to win this. About the tanking for Trevor, the problem that I'm looking at is they need everything but quarterback, and they have for they have ever since Blake Bortles. Like, their entire defense, which made them good at one point, is now gone. So they need a lot of other things, but we'll see where they end up. Let's go to the AFC West. I mentioned the Chiefs are the biggest favorites of the entire league in their division, and not a big surprise when you're in a division with 3 teams that are de facto rebuilding. They are massively favored over the Chargers, Broncos, and Raiders in that order. What do you have to say?
Well, I mean, everybody in the entire world virtually is going to say the Chiefs are going to win that division, and I can't disagree with that. For the sake of time, though, I will say, if you want to take a long shot, look at the Broncos, because they have an up-and-coming quarterback, definitely a breakout candidate for this season. Their wide receiver core looks amazing. Their running back situation is not bad whatsoever. And their O-line they're building. The defense, has been something great for many years. Maybe took a step down over the past couple years, but they're rebuilding. So if you want to take a long shot on someone, go with the Broncos.
Yeah, I actually really liked your take. I agree with everything you said. The Chiefs will win it, but if you bet on the Broncos. Now, 2 things that I'm slightly offended by here is that the Chargers are more favored than the Broncos. That makes little sense to me. And I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned this on this show, but the Raiders are frauds, and they are close to the Broncos in the odds. Now, they're last, obviously, but they're a terrible team. None of this works out, as always. You know how the story goes. They're going to be ending up with a maximum of 8 wins, and that's the story. Chiefs win it. They win 13 games. They win 14 games. They might win 16 games, but we'll get to that. We'll see about that. I like the Broncos, like you mentioned. They won the draft, in my opinion. They had one of the best drafts in the entire league, and Drew Lock is going to make a good jump. I think Jerry Jeudy is the best thing that could have happened to him in terms of wide receiver, because people tend to talk a lot about the young quarterback needing a big, like 6'6", jump ball, Megatron kind of receiver. But that's not necessarily true. I find that the route runner is sometimes more important to actually bumping up the quality of play for that quarterback than the big jump ball guy. Because there's nothing that quite helps a young quarterback improve than when suddenly people are getting open and you have open spaces to throw to, and it feels like an offense you can control, and people are open in 2.5 seconds and you actually can make plays. Other than just chucking it up to people and they catching everything like a Kraken, that's fine. But the route runner, that people actually get open and allow someone to get into the flow as a quarterback, in my opinion, is the most important piece to add to an offense. And he's got that, along with some offensive line help. I like the Broncos to bet on, the Chiefs to win it. Let's go to the NFC. And we're going to start off with the NFC East, the most unpredictable division historically over the last couple of years, I guess. Cowboys favored slightly over the Eagles as was expected. Those are the two up there. Giants and then the Redskins, massive underdogs.
What do we say? The Cowboys win this division with less than 9 wins.
Possible.
Very possible, man. Jesus. I mean, this comes down to the Cowboys and the Eagles. Although, I will say the Giants, I do like their breakout candidate at quarterback. And we seem to have a lot of those this season around the league because Daniel Jones is going to be something special. I just don't know if the team around him is special enough at this point. But Daniel Jones, I think, is going to be a great quarterback for the future. Yeah, this comes down to Dak Prescott and his weapons versus Carson Wentz and his weapons. And Dak Prescott is set up to win much more than Carson Wentz is at this time. I'm gonna give the division to the Cowboys again, even though I would like for the Eagles to win. But I'm gonna give it to Cowboys and their 3 wide receivers and their man of a running back that they have, because that will set Dak Prescott up to win.
Alright. Now, both of these teams, in my opinion, drafted really well. I like the Eagles picking a receiver, finally getting some actual help. Jalen Reagor fits that offense really well. Like the Cowboys with CeeDee Lamb having an opposite to Amari Cooper, kind of avoiding that bracket coverage in like 80% of the snaps on one side of the field. So both teams drafted well. I like the Eagles draft overall a little better. And 2 points. First of all, like what you addressed about Daniel Jones, just hypothetically, say he's up to the level of Carson Wentz this year. Like, say Jones and Wentz play on the same level. The Eagles are still better than the Giants because they have a better roster than the Giants. If they stay healthy, they have better receivers, they have better defense than the Giants. So, to me, there's not much that the Giants can really do unless there's some breakout candidates that we don't know about that all of a sudden go crazy. It's going to be a 2-horse race. Going to be a 2-horse race. I don't believe in Dwayne Haskins as much as a lot of people do. He's not consistent enough, in my opinion. He's a name. At least some people think he's a breakout candidate. I'm not seeing it in this division, and this team is not functioning very well in general. I like the Eagles to win the division outright, and I would take him. In a pick him with the given odds. I can realistically see myself betting a little bit on the Eagles, because listen, I like to trust in the best quarterback, right? And Carson Wentz to me is a top 5, maybe top 3 quarterback in the league. When he is healthy and when he is throwing to someone else, except for like Philly fans, right, that they picked out of the stadium, which hopefully is going to be the case with the draft. So the Eagles, to me, still favored. Cowboys, they can't even figure out their own situation. They're going to pay their quarterback. I don't know. Seems to be going a bit weird there. Their All-Pro Hall of Fame center just retired, so their offensive line is really just it's in shambles. Like 3 years ago, he had the best offensive line in football, maybe of the century.
For sure.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I think Zach Martin is the only All-Pro that's still remaining on that team. Is Tyron Smith still there? I don't know. If he is, he's not. He's no longer what he used to be. So, that production out of Zeke is gonna go down a little bit. The time or the interior pressure that Dak didn't face over the last couple of years is going to get to him, with especially the ferocious interior D-line of the Eagles you got to think about. And the Redskins also got a lot stronger at pass rusher. I like Philly to win this division behind the best quarterback in the division, so that's where my money goes. Looking at the NFC North, can you guess who's favored in this division? Want to take a shot?
Since you say that, I'm going to go with the Vikings.
Well, a bit of a trap, I guess. The Vikings and Packers are equally favored, so they share the odds there. Then we have the Bears at 3 plus 360 and the Lions at plus 650. So Packers and Vikings in the same spot. What do we think about this?
Yeah, I can see it. And this comes down to the team around the superstar, like we were speaking about earlier. I will say this: I would take the Lions over the Bears. Especially if Stafford's healthy and baby Megatron's healthy. Man, I don't know why not. But back to the Packers and the Vikings. It comes down to, is Aaron Rodgers going to put that team on his back and will them to the playoffs once again? Because as we've discussed at length, there's one superstar on that offense, and besides Aaron Rodgers, that is, there's one superstar, and he wasn't considered to be a superstar coming into the league. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think at this point, I'm kind of leaning toward Vikings to take that division.
Well, we've talked to a great extent last or the week before about how the Packers are essentially drafting to lose, and that still is the case. It's completely inexplicable to me what they are doing. They have no aspirations. They have resigned their Super Bowl window with that Jordan Love pick. In my opinion, they stumbled upon Devontae Adams. That's the only good thing that happened to them since 2006 in terms of drafting or free agency acquisition. We're going to play this game in a future show. Name the Green Bay first round pick. And we're going to go back to Aaron Rodgers, and I just want to see how many you can get, or how many I can get right now. It's something that I just thought about today randomly when I was hanging out. I was like, wow, that's tough.
I'm trying to.
I know Jordan Love, Darnell Savage because of recency, but like 5 years from now, who knows? You mentioned the Lions. That's an interesting one. This is one of the biggest bets I would make. Is actually put on the Lions here. The Bears have no business. You decide between Nick Foles and Trubisky as your starting quarterback. I'm not buying it. The one problem with the Lions is kind of the same as with the Giants. Unproven Belichick disciple trying to run the show without Belichick. Hasn't worked that much, and so far doesn't seem to work in Detroit. It's not exactly the most positive vibes coming out. Matthew Stafford is the second best quarterback in this division. He's very talented. I think he can run an offense. He can get double-digit wins with the correct team around him. And if you're Aaron Rodgers, I mean, your morale has to be at 0 right now, right? You're not given a shot to win anything. Like, you are not giving your front office is not giving you a chance to go back to another Super Bowl. It's simply not happening with the team that you have around, and then they draft your replacement when you're still far and away the best player on your team. So no sense there. I don't know how he's gonna respond to that. I suppose it's just he's brilliant enough to still win 8 to 10 games. He's still gonna pull it out, make a playoff run, get demolished in the playoffs by just a better team, but. I like the Packers because it's Aaron Rodgers and they don't bet against him. I like him to still win it. But if I had to bet, I'd put some on the Lions. Given the roster, the only thing that's holding me back to invest big there is Matt Patricia. NFC South, this is yours, obviously, and I hate to break it to you, your Falcons are not favored to win it, but maybe that means you're going to bet on them. We got the Saints favored before the Buccaneers, or should I say the Gronkaneers, the Tampa Bay Gronkaneers, Falcons at plus 900, and the Carolina Panthers far and away the underdog plus 2,000.
Yeah, I agree with the Panthers being there. And just from the looks of it, on the outside looking in, you would say that seems to be the correct order. But I would definitely put money on Atlanta winning that division. Now, Drew Brees is not getting younger. This is possibly his last season, for a good reason. The man is 41 this season. And we see it. We see quarterbacks fall apart around that age and a lot of times earlier. So there is a decent chance that Drew Brees is just not the Drew Brees that we know and hate at this point in time, this season.
Speak for yourself.
So therefore, the team with the most talent, which I guess you could argue that the Bucs are almost equally as talented as Atlanta at this point in time. Man, that's tough. But we also have a 43-year-old quarterback starting for the Bucs and Tom Brady. Gronkowski will most likely be his number one target. They got Chris Godwin and oh god. And Mike over. Jesus Christ, man. I get scared thinking about that receiver. Just OJ Howard, man. Like, he can just, I don't know, he can just turn around and hike the ball into the defense and somebody
every game, and no one will be free to rush the passer.
Yeah, exactly. Man, it's scary. I'd put money on the Falcons. But I don't think the Bucks are going to pull it off. But just looking at the names on their offense, you would think, Jesus Christ, they're going to win the Super Bowl. But they also have a great defensive line, which is completely underrated for the Bucks. Nobody runs on the Bucks, and I wouldn't be surprised if they are the number 2 or maybe even the number 1 in this division.
This is a packed division. This might be either this or the next one following is the toughest division in the NFL. And I'm leaning to say it's the NFC South once again. Because you mentioned 3 playoff teams. This is the division where I would imagine 3 playoff teams to come from in the NFC. And it's the top 3 there. I don't think Carolina is going to be in the race. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be fine. Still, they're too mediocre. They're an okay team, but they can't compete in this. If Carolina was the NFC East, they might be about the same level, or at least close to Dallas and Philly. And this one, it's a completely different story. I like New Orleans to be favored because they are still one of the most stacked teams in the league. Now, I know you said this because of favoritism, but I actually have to agree with you. If I'm betting on Atlanta. Because talent-wise, I believe that last season was more of a dud than a signal of a bigger problem. I think they're still one of the more talented teams in the league, and we've seen that in years prior. I don't believe it's all on play calling that they've lost, and again, the coaching staff, the play calling got notably worse after that Super Bowl run. It kind of never kind of was the same. But I mean, you would probably agree that the head coach is the sort of the biggest obstacle holding this team back right now.
Oh yeah.
And you look at Tampa Bay, you look at New Orleans, and the front offices, the head coaching is more competent in those organizations, which is why I like to believe that New Orleans, barring any downfall of the Breeze, and he's still performing at the level that he has, is going to win the division and push in a deep playoff run. I think they have a chance to go to a Super Bowl if they keep it up, because they have a good defense. It's going to be a very talented division. Looking forward to a lot of good divisional games. Money's on Atlanta given the odds, but I'll take the Saints to win. I do not take the Bucks though, because the odds are too close. They are very close to New Orleans, and I don't think it's gonna. I think it's mostly hype. Honestly, I don't think it's gonna work out. Gronk is not Gronk from 3 years ago. Brady is not Brady from 10 years ago. There's a lot of the New England makeup on those players and their performances over the last years. Still can't deny the strength of the receiving core, but people will find out that it's gonna not be the same as New England. It's the environment is there. The defense, the pass defense, the special team turnovers aren't gonna be there to give them field position on the opponent's 40 every other drive. It's not happening in Tampa Bay. And radically different climate also, which might help them honestly, because they're playing half their games in domes. But I don't believe Tampa Bay as much as other people. I'll take New Orleans to win, but I bet on the Falcons. And last but not least, definitely not least, NFC West. This could also be the toughest division, depending on how you look at certain teams. Got the Niners favored at minus 110, Seattle, the Rams, and Arizona as follows.
Tell you this right up front. If I was going to bet on a long shot, I'm going with the Cardinals in this one. I know you hate Kyler Murray. You don't believe in Kyler Murray.
What? Do I hate Kyler Murray? There's a difference between hating someone and not believing in them. As a player.
I also said that. So, but listen, he has a chance to break out. I mean, I know you don't want to believe in him, but he has a chance. And
all right,
it's his stature. I know that it's his stature. I mean, the guy's 5'9".
Not only, but it's part of it.
Yeah, but Jesus Christ, look at that receiving core he's got now. Man, I don't know. I would put money on the Cardinals here, because at that long of a shot, if it pays off, you're gonna win big. Now everybody wants to, go to the 49ers, of course. There's to repeat, and the Seahawks are a perennial favorite because of their quarterback. And you can't doubt either one of those. But I'm telling you, if you're gonna put money on a long shot in this entire NFL, go on the Cardinals. because they do have a chance to win this.
I kind of hate how I need to agree with most of what you're saying. So NFC West is quite simple. You look at the draft and you can basically read it like a book. Seahawks and Rams got worse. They just got worse during this offseason. They got worse the offseason before, and they've gotten worse this offseason because they either don't draft, in the case of the Rams, because they poured their entire stock in Jared Goff that one time, or they draft badly. I brought this up last time, like Seattle. What was the last first-round pick that Seattle made that had any sort of impact? That was actually a reasonable pick. Bruce Irvin comes to mind. What was that 2012?
Wow.
Been forever. They pick terribly when they don't trade down in the first round. And San Francisco, they patched a lot of holes. Emmanuel Sanders gone. Brandon Ayuk is there. DeForest Buckner gone. Javon Kinlaw slots right in there. They're a lot of the same type of players. They're going to be a very similar team. They're going to be a year older, which is going to be helpful because they're still one of the younger teams. Joe Staley gone, Trent Williams replacing with an equally high quality left tackle. They're going to be on the same sort of situation. That's why I think they're quite favored to win it. Still tough to bet on them because they're the odds-on favorite, so there's just not a lot to win. The Cardinals are the only team in this division that, barring Kyler Murray not taking a step back, will be better than they were last year. And yes, they were explosive at times last year. And yes, they had 2 games against San Francisco that were way closer than they should have been, and way closer than the record set that they were. But they were, because the mobile quarterback is the 49ers pass rush biggest problem. I can't get over how short Kyler Murray is. This shouldn't work in the NFL. And people say Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, Doug Flutie. Not only is he an inch shorter than Russell Wilson, his arms are 2 inches shorter than Russell Wilson. His point of release is 3 inches below that of Russell Wilson. And the point of release ultimately is what matters more when you look at the underneath concepts, the short passing, the mesh concepts, because you've got offensive linemen that their head is like at the same height as Kyler Murray's point of releasing the football. He can't physically throw at a downward angle. He can't throw a bullet pass from the pocket.
No,
it's not possible. He can't do it. So that takes away such a huge amount of the usual game. Because those crossing patterns are so important to mess with zone defenses. I can't see this work in the long run. People will figure this out. Now, he's not the same as certain one-read quarterbacks that we've seen that have relied on their athleticism in the past that just didn't work out. Look at RG3, look at Colin Kaepernick. Those are players that took the league by storm for 1 year. But they were ultimately one-read quarterbacks, and once people adjusted, they contained both sides. They put a spy. They took away their greatest strength, which is their run game. They fall down because then they can't really pass. They're not a passing quarterback. Kyler Murray is better than those guys, but he's got physical limitations, and he's not as refined of a passer as other quarterbacks were in his class, and he's still, in my opinion, the worst quarterback in the division, though a lot of people have raised doubts about Jared Goff, which I think is more in relation to where he was drafted and the amount of capital they put into him. They
were both number 1 picks.
The absolutes, exactly, yeah. And Jared Goff cost the Rams a lot more. And he's supposed to be the best quarterback in this division, given what he got paid, what they put into him, and he's not being that right now. I think Niners are going to win the division. I think it's going to be more clear than last year because the Seahawks and Rams did not get better. I think they got a little worse, and they are on a downward trend. I believe that in a year or two, the Cardinals will be the biggest contender there, the second best team in the division if it keeps going like that, and if Kyler doesn't take a step back. But listen, if I have to bet money, I'll take the Cardinals, obviously, right? Like you mentioned. With the given odds, it makes sense.
They have something you haven't mentioned, though. They have a DeAndre Hopkins.
They have a D-Hop.
So he can adjust that trajectory to throw over people's heads, and it doesn't matter where he puts it, Hopkins will catch it.
Oh, but Hopkins, will he still catch it every time if he goes against Jalen Ramsey and Richard Sherman twice a year?
Oh, yeah.
Those are defenders built to cover
Hopkins,
him.
Man. No one shuts down
Hopkins.
Right.
No one shuts down Hopkins. We'll see. Maybe he'll double cover him.
Yeah, you're going to have to. You're gonna have to, but I mean, Fitz is still there. Larry's playing out the slot.
I mean, Larry at this point, that's what a linebacker can cover him. He's not the
Christian-
fast guy.
Christian
We'll
Kirk,
see, yeah.
Kirk is worth the coverage also. So
That's true. Yeah, they have the support for sure. I still don't like their offensive line, and I think they got a little better, but not great. I definitely want to see Isaiah Simmons backing up what he's been talking right from the start of the draft, talking about he's used to covering guys like George Kittle. Good luck. You're not. This is the NFL.
No,
Something funny is going to happen there. You can't compare that to college. The team's gotten better. Of course, they've got better, and I wouldn't be super surprised if they actually pushed for a playoff spot. And I know I bet against it. And if they actually had the second highest win total, looking at around 8 to 10 wins in this division, I think everything needs to go right for it to happen, though. I would bet a small sum on it, but I think the 49ers should win the division comfortably. It's just not worth really betting on because of the low return. But that's what we're looking at. I'm surprised of how much we actually agree on here, given all the biases that you usually show whenever we talk.
yeah, well, that is what it is.
I would have expected you to kind of dump your entire funds on Houston whenever they were third in their division and just call it a day. Like, that's it. I don't want to talk about anything else. Betting everything on Deshaun. That's sort of what I expect here.
Well, betting odds are different than who your fandom is for, So.
Okay, so it's just fandom.
Yeah, you don't want
to
lose money over fandom.
No.
I know that from fantasy football. I don't draft Falcons. Yeah. I don't draft Falcons. I've never drafted Deshaun Watson. I've actually never drafted Julio. Yeah.
Wow, really?
I mean,
Julio's
I've had Devontae Freeman. If they comes up, I don't reach for any of them. If it comes up, I've actually had Matt Ryan at one time, but I got him through a trade. But yeah, I don't reach for anybody, especially my own team.
You can't reach for him.
Yeah.
That's true. And in betting, I guess it's sort of the same. Now, if say the odds were different and the Niners weren't favored as much, I would still bet on them because it makes logical sense. They're big favorites to win it. But I don't just throw money on them because they're my favorite team. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Fundamental rule. I think they'll win it, but it's not worth it from an objective point of view to really bet on it. So I guess kind of summarizing the whole thing, if you're interested in potentially betting on it, here's my 100%. Lock them up, throw them in the bank. You're guaranteed to make money off of this picks. Get the Jets. Pull a bit on the Jets in the AFC East. I like Sam Darnold. They have an upside. Steelers, always a good idea if you want to go with the AFC North. I'd stay away from the AFC South for the most part. It's very, very difficult. Put a little bit on the Broncos. You have a very high return there if you hit it. Don't put too much, though, because the Chiefs are just, they're greatly favored. I like the Eagles.
Yeah.
It's very close. Kind of pick your poison there. If you're undecided, go with the Eagles because of the better odds, and I think they have a better quarterback.
Put a little on the Lions.
Yeah, Lions, if you're going to be adventurous and you believe that Aaron Rodgers will be in a bad mood, maybe you buy Matt Patricia. I'd probably stay away from the NFC North other than that for the most part. You can put a bit on the Falcons. You're looking at that division, though. It's more of a smaller amount, like small amounts on the Falcons and Cardinals for those longer odds with the higher returns. But the big money is going to go on the Jets, the Broncos, and the Steelers. For me, that's what that's going to be with the given odds. And they might still change because there's still some names out there, some free agents that are going to find some homes, presumably, and some deals to be done. But as for today, that is what we're looking at. Let us know who you think is going to win each division. Who's favored, who's going up, who's going down, and where is your money going to be allocated if you were to have to bet with the current given odds. I'm going to actually try to link the odds that I took for this video, for this discussion in the description of the video, so you don't have to listen back to it all the time. You can check them and make your judgment based on that. But do you have anything else to bring up for today, Smokey?
No, that's it for now.
Alright, that's it for now. Thank you for watching, everybody. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and let us know what you think. Drop the opinions in the comments, and we are going to be seeing you in the next one.
Deuces.